Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host, and today we have a special guest, Mrs. Nina Skaggs. She's been on before of Avid Armor. She's a co-owner, and we're going to discuss how things are going over at Avid Armor, what they're doing with new products, and all stuff vacuum sealing. I'll be right back with Nina Skaggs from Avid Armor.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Hey y'all, it's Darren. I want to take a second to talk about ThermoWorks and their ThermoPen and ThermoPop instant read thermometers. They are the industry standard and industry leading, most accurate, most durable, most dependable on the market. You'll find these in most professional kitchens. The ThermoPen is accurate within a half a degree, under 3-second readout time, and is the most durable on the market. The ThermoPop is a little bit more pocket friendly with about a 5-second read time, but still very reliable and dependable. Check out the ThermoWorks products in the link below. Welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I am Darren, I'm your host, and today I've got a special guest who's been on with me before. I have Mrs. Nina Skaggs from Avid Armor. She is a co-owner, Avid Armor Vacuum Sealers. Welcome back, Nina. We're going to talk about some of your products, some of the new stuff you got going on. So tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So as Darren mentioned, my name is Nina and I am the co-owner at Avid Armor. A lot of Darren's viewers may have recognized me from some of the, YouTube videos. I do a lot of the how-to videos and all that on our YouTube channel, but I'm mainly more involved on the marketing side here at Avid Armor. So that's my main role, in addition to obviously all the day-to-day business ownership tasks, but that's where you'll find me. Occasionally I answer the phones or an email, but
yeah, I know that you reply to the emails a lot that are sent to you guys. So one of the things I love about Avid Armor is ever since I started, I found you guys like 2 or 3 years ago when you first had just the A100 channel vacuum.
It may have been longer than that now. I think time flies.
Yeah, it does. It might have been 4 years ago, but I know you had the A100. I think that was the first vacuum sealer you came out with, was as a commercial type, heavy duty home type, could be used in the home, but also could be used as a commercial sealer. It pretty much, the thing blew my mind at how good it was built and the pricing on it. So you started with that. You started out the gate with a really high quality product, got me interested, and then just dealing with you guys ever since with your chamber sealers and your other products that you're offering. Everything has just been top-notch quality. I know you guys put everything through rigorous testing, and you don't sell garbage. And you actually, the customer service thing with you guys is probably one of the top things that it's why I recommend Avid Armor. So let's just talk about the company history and how you guys got started and why you focus on vacuum sealing.
Yeah. So we are coming up on 6 years now of, Avid Armor. And we got started, we have a history with Dave, my business partner, and I. We have a background in the vacuum sealing industry, if you will. And so we decided to bring that knowledge to Avid Armor, and I hope that that's what potential customers know, is that with Avid Armor, you're not just getting people that are just selling another product. We truly have been in the industry for decades, if you will, and so we have a strong passion and a strong knowledge of the industry.
Yeah, and like you said, you're not just throwing stuff up on Amazon. You're not buying stuff off of Alibaba and sticking your name on it. Right. You do, design. I mean, you don't have your own manufacturing plant sitting there next to your office, but
unfortunately, goals.
But you do, you do put a lot of effort and work into getting, the products right. And like I said, you're not just sticking your name on something that you can buy off of Alibaba or whatever. You focus on high quality products that the customers are going to love, and you focus. You're not you're not getting into the commercial side yet. I mean, that might be something you guys do down the road, but right now you focus on, what a general user would be, like a home user or somebody that, maybe a fisherman that process, or a hunter. I mean, I think that's kind of what you started out at, focusing on, like people who, harvest their own farm, stuff, or hunters and stuff like that. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly right. And that's kind of been what the traditional user has been for so long, if you will. But with the introduction of the new products like these chamber sealers for the home users, it's really kind of opened up so many micro segments of consumers that are using our products, and especially through the pandemic and all the things that have resulted from that has kind of opened people's eyes to the possibilities with using vacuum sealers and changing their lifestyle around using vacuum sealers and the chamber sealers. It's been really cool to see how that is kind of, even though people probably don't realize, but chamber technology has been around longer than the suction vacuum sealers. And, we have been trying to, introduce that at the home level and not in a big commercial, because that's what they've always been is the big commercial type units that, don't look good sitting on people's kitchen counter. And so that's what we, wanted to do with these, with the first we had the USV 32, and then we've kind of brought it down smaller. And then with our newest model, that's something that we try to do too, is listen to our customer feedback of, what they're wanting in a vacuum sealer. And so we try to, as we work on new products and develop new products, taking some of those things that people are wanting whenever we launch our next product. So.
Yeah, I think initially, vacuum sealers got a bad rap because they've been around for a long time. It's the channel ones, the food savers, to use, brand name. But even now, you've got all kinds of millions of different Chinese brands that, the Uki Ox, and they just make up words now.
Many, yeah.
But a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth because, they had those cheaper models that just didn't work well, or they'd work for a year and they'd break, or nobody really talked to them on how to use them right. They just saw it on TV or they saw it in the store and they said, oh, that looks like a good idea, but they really didn't know how to use it. They didn't know how to use it well or right. They would get too much moisture in the pump and it would fry out, or the heat sealing bar would they would overheat it and it would break, and they would just throw it in the dumpster, or they'd take it to Goodwill. I mean, I still have people say, oh yeah, just go to Goodwill. You'll find, 20 of them sitting on the shelf. But, it's come a long way since then. And even when I first started, I started really looking hard at vacuum sealers when I started getting into sous vide cooking, because use it with sous vide cooking just makes it so much easier to get all the air out, make sure that it's properly sealed, and you don't have to worry about leaks. And vacuum in the Ziploc bags they cost 3 times as much as a vacuum bag. Even a channel bag is a lot cheaper than a Ziploc bag, and you just got so much of a better able to get all the air out and make sure it's sealed properly with that. So I really started looking at them harder.
And to get the full effect. Yeah. And to get the full effect, like, we believe that it truly does need to be vacuum sealed to get the true, sous vide experience, if you will.
And now in the last couple of years with these smaller chamber sealers, like you said, they're now getting into the prices and the sizes that makes a lot more sense for a customer to put in their home, instead of the big vac masters, and stuff like that would cost over $1,000, and they take up, a whole counter space. And
and those come into play for certain people, and that's kind of been a little bit of a struggle too, is educating people which one is right for them, if you will, so there are people that still process a lot of deer, or they're, processing their own cows and that kind of thing. And we try to steer them away from this type because it's not built for that commercial heavy use, so there's a big difference.
Well, also, and if you are processing a whole steer or a deer, you got those
Hmm.
oddball sized pieces. Like, if you want to process, let's just say you want to vacuum seal a deer leg, you can't put it in a chamber sealer.
Right,
So it
right.
makes, I have both, I have chamber sealers and I have the channel sealers, and there's times I need one or the other, so
Yeah.
there is a use for them. But like I said, with these smaller, more economical, I guess, and being able to fit on somebody's kitchen counter without looking ugly or
Yeah.
taking up all the space and all that. I mean, I think the market for vacuum sealers has grown, especially like I said, with sous vide cooking and people with the pandemic.
Hmm.
And now
Yeah.
you got people, with what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, everybody's like, end of
Absolutely.
the world's coming. I need to start inflation. I got to start
Yep.
stockpiling food. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I've seen it
Absolutely.
just in my Facebook groups alone. I got people. I'm also I got a freeze dryer you can see back there. So I mean that's
Yep.
a
Yep.
vacuum chamber in itself, but that's another
Hmm.
form of prepping, and people are buying
Absolutely.
those like left and right, because when meat goes up $1 a pound like within 4 or 5 months, I mean it gets you scared. You're like, whoa,
Um,
am I going to be able to afford to buy food next year? So I might as well start freezing a bunch of it. And there's
Absolutely. Absolutely. We get calls daily, especially with the freeze dryer community, people that, are into that. They, want to package their food away to preserve it for 20 or 30 years, so it's out there, people really are concerned. So,
Yeah, I think and it's like I said, so now I think it's a combination of both. The needs there now. You got better products, even with the channel sealers. You got,
mhm,
people like you that you're putting out channel vacuums still, but they're high quality. And they're not the cheap ones that you throw away after a year anymore. They'll
right.
last you a lot more. And you guys with the customer service, your videos on YouTube, I point people there all the time because they're
Thank you. It's,
educational. Well,
yeah,
people need to know. You just don't, because they're not going to be able to use it right. They're not going to
right.
understand the benefits of why they need
Right.
to have it, or what it's gonna, what it can do for them. They're gonna use it a couple times and go, I can't figure this thing out, or
Yeah. And I will say it's actually been, yeah, it's been extremely helpful internally also, because we have people calling on the phone, asking questions about this, that, and the other. And, being able to show them, and, because it's kind of hard to explain over the phone, and
right.
so being able to have that to show them, well, make sure the bag's not too full, and or whatever it may be. And yeah, it's extremely helpful. So
Well, and the good thing about that too is, like you said, you listen to your customers, and when your customers come up with something that you never thought of before,
yeah.
or oh, nobody asked me that question, then you can do a video, and then now all you have to do is somebody calls it, go to our YouTube channel. That's all been addressed, and
Yeah,
it'll walk you right through it. So it's, the internet does help a lot now with all that.
absolutely.
And I always point people, they'll ask questions, even in the Facebook groups, they'll throw a question out there to, like, the 5,000 members of a group. It's like, I'll tell them the best thing to do is just go to YouTube, type in what you're looking for, and then you'll have actually somebody walk you through what you're looking for. Because
Exactly. Yeah.
instead of having 40, 200 people give you 18 different answers, that half of
Yes.
them are wrong
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's but
And
I'm
some people do things a little bit differently than others. And yeah.
right. And it's not always the best way or the right way, but it's like,
Yeah.
that's like anything. They got their they like to put their opinions out there. But if
Yeah.
you put the videos out there showing them step by step on how to use it, I think that's what another benefit of you guys. And like I said, the customer service that you guys provide is so much better than if somebody buys a cheap, $60 Chinese Uki Ako from Amazon. About the only thing that benefits them is that if it doesn't work right, they can send it back through Amazon, but they're not going
Right.
to get any customer service. They're not going to be
Right.
able to pick up the phone or email and get a
Hmm.
response right away. It's
Yeah.
always going to be, it's either you're just going to have to send it back. But you guys actually, like I said, you got that customer service behind them. If they want to call, you're more than welcome to, you're willing to help them out right away. But
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And trust me, we get lots of phone calls. So if you happen to call and we don't answer the phone, we're probably talking to somebody else. So just hang tight.
So
We'll
you
get back
guys
to
have,
you.
so you guys, you said it's 6 years now or 7 years.
Six.
So
Yep.
6 years, and in that time from when you first started to now, has it snowballed or has it had been kind of steady growth? Or I mean, I know the pandemic probably,
Yeah.
really affected you guys.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I would say during the pandemic, like right when like lockdown started and all that, it was kind of it was definitely a snowball, especially in the bags and rolls side, because the people that already had their vacuum sealers were stocking up on the bags and rolls. So that was huge. And then it started with the vacuum sealers. And I would say that it hasn't really, we're still growing, if you will. It's just there's been a fluctuation in business. And actually, it's hard to say because right now we're having trouble keeping stuff in stock, if you will, just with all the supply chain issues. So the demand is there, but keeping stuff in stock has been a challenge.
How much, how much of that do you, how am I going to word this? Since you started 6 years ago with a brand that nobody knew,
right
now your brand is out there, and you've had people like me and others that promote you guys. How much has your name recognized out there in the vacuum sealing market now compared to when you first? I know you didn't have anything when you started.
Well, it's kind of cool to see because is becoming definitely more recognizable. We're like searches on Google and searches on Amazon now, if you will. But honestly, a lot of it has been, word of mouth, whether it be from you. I've gotten phone calls where they're like, I saw you on Darren's podcast and you sold me, or some other, someone else on social media or Facebook group, or just, someone's neighbor or whatever. But that's mainly been is like the word of mouth has really, grown the brand, and it's really cool to see. And, we've been blessed in that part. So
now I know you guys sell on Amazon as well. What percentage of your sales come off of Amazon? Is it a big number? It doesn't have to be specific, but
it's definitely a majority, just because and we are starting to see that change. So it's a lot easier to get customers on Amazon, because
they're there. Yeah,
they're there. So to get people to come to your website, that's a challenge. So it's actually been increasing as the brand increasing going to the website. I'm sorry. So because as the brand becomes more of a recognizable brand, there's a lot of people out there that like to, kind of pay respects to the brand and purchase directly from that company. So we have seen significant growth on the website as well.
Yeah, I know that those big, it's like if you had a product in Walmart, and it was in 5 million stores around the country. Of course, you're going to sell more because it's out in front of more people. And Amazon is a place to be. But unfortunately, like I said, I think Amazon is getting overloaded with the cheapy garbage, and people are just looking for the cheapest stuff they can find. And I saw this on the sous vide circular side too, the circulator side for sous vide. People are just, I can get this one for 30. Why would I spend 100 on this one? Well,
right. That Amazon shopper, most people, I feel like when you're going to Amazon to shop, it's like you don't care about the brand at that point. Most of the time, especially when it's the low dollar values, people don't care about the brand. They just want, cheapest, the fastest they can get it. And, something that has, 4.5 stars, and it's just a one-click purchase. So, and I think that's why we've seen such significant growth on the website is, the brand. And then it's more, we've been introducing higher value items, that not the commodity type, bags and rolls. So, because a lot of times people they're not brand loyal, if you will, on those type of products. So, yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I know, and because I've had companies ask me, I'll send you a free product if you do a review, on Amazon for me. So half of the reviews on Amazon for those cheap Chinese stuff is garbage because they're done by people that got a free product and they don't even use it. They just put it out there. Oh yeah, this is the best vacuum sealer I've ever had because I got it. They don't tell you they got it for free, but and usually even the ones that buy it, they take it out of the box, they use it once and go, yeah, this is the best I ever had. Well, 3 weeks from now, it's going to break, and you already did your review.
They're probably turning around and selling it on eBay or something.
yeah. I mean, that happens a lot. But so, like I said, I'm very picky anymore. I used to, when I first started, people would send me stuff and I'd say, yeah, go ahead and send it and I'll do an honest review. I got to a point where if you're going to send it to me, I'm going to do a really blistering, honest review of it. So if it's garbage, I'm going to tell them it's garbage. And a lot of times now they just never mind because they're looking for that. Just, I'll send you something for free and give me a good review. And I'm not at that. I'm not going to do that.
I think Amazon's really starting to crack down on that because there's been lots of reports of so many fake reviews just like that they're using companies or whatever so it's crazy.
Yeah, believe it or not, they do that with YouTube videos too. They can buy subscribers and likes and all kinds of views and stuff for instead of actually getting it yourself. They can there's companies that will actually pay people in like India, but all they do all day is, comment on videos or, subscribe. And it's just so many crazy things out there anymore. So it's kind of hard to weed through some of what's actually real out there. And that's why I focus on, companies that I like and I tell people, look, if I tell you something's good, I use it and I know why it's good. I'm going to tell you every reason why it's good. So let's go. I'm going to actually pull up we're going to pull up the website here. So I want to show people what we're actually talking about. If I can hold on.
Hopefully it works today. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Hold on. I got to go back. It's the wrong one. Try it one more time. Hold on. There we go. Didn't have that screen up. All right. Can you see it now?
There we go.
All right. So this is your website. And pretty much, man, it's a lot fancier than the last time I think we were on. So you got lots of videos on there now showing the product and of course the bags and lots of pretty food. You got all the your high sellers here out there. So a lot of activity going on the website now. So I'm just going to let's click on the vacuum sealers and we'll start out with the suction sealers here. So I think when you first started, you didn't even have the AVS 7900. You just started out with the A100.
A100,
but that thing is a beast. And I recently got rid of the one I had originally bought like 5 years ago, and I got the new A420 now. So because it's a little bit not as heavy, and I like the bar where I don't have to hold down the lid, hold down the lid, but. And
that one was definitely one that we had a lot of customers that they really liked the A100, but there's just certain things that they had to have in a vacuum sealer. One is the roll storage. Some people, it's like a love or hate, some people just have to have it because they're, used to that feature. So that's why we brought that, and then we added the locking lid because some people don't like having to, like you said, hold that down. So but it's a beast though. It's a very workhorse. You can process a lot of food and you don't have to worry about it. It's a double piston pump, so it's got a really strong pump. So I mean, if I was looking for something where I needed to use it on a daily basis, I'd still look at that one as one of my main go-tos. So you got pretty much now you have from the $59 models all the way up to the $499 channel sealers here. So let's walk through it. So you got your basic $59 AVS 7900, but it's got a lot of features to it. It's not. It does. And it essentially, we wanted to give an option to people, those entry level people, the people that have never vacuum sealed before, or another option, people that have, let's say, a chamber sealer at home and they want to have that external option sometimes, then they can just pair it with the inexpensive suction sealer, and then they kind of have the best of both worlds. But it essentially has all the features that the other ones do, just in a little tiny footprint. And for a lot of users, if you're just going to Costco and stocking up on some bulk food and want to store it, then that's an awesome option.
Yeah, and then we move up to the Magic Vac at $229, and so it's got a little bit some more features to it, but it's also a little bit more bigger. It's, I guess, a little bit better made. Or this one is
yeah, and it's got the more of a European design to it. So both the Maxima 2 and the Jumbo 30, which we'll get to in a second, are made in Italy. So we have an exclusive partnership with Magic Vac. They are kind of they are the original makers of vacuum sealers. And so through the pandemic and through everything, we have so many people that, want alternative options, and where their vacuum sealers are made. So we've thought that would be a perfect opportunity to partner with Magic Vac. So we are the exclusive distributor of their sealers here in the United States. So they make these sealers specifically for the US market. So there might be a few tweaks or changes to them than what they have over in Europe. But so the Maxima 2, it's definitely a step up from, your entry level. It's got the built-in roll storage. It's got a lot of bells and whistles. It has the clear view window, and it just got some different features that are really high end, and you can just tell that they're it's quality built for sure.
Well, and it's like you said, a lot of people have that. I don't want to buy something made in China. Well, there's an option for you. And I don't think a lot of people know that with the chamber sealers, the better chamber sealers come from Europe, because what's the name of the pump that everybody loves?
Bush.
Yeah, the Bush pumps. So and they're expensive as all get out, but they're the like the top tier in the industry of the Bush pumps on channel sealer or chamber sealer. So now we step up to the A420, which again, it's a little bit bigger. It's got a little bit bigger footprint, but it's got a little bit I guess a little bit easier design. I like that bar that closes down, because unlike the Magic Vac, I don't need to use both hands to clamp it down, and it has all the same features. It's got the marinate function. It's got the accessory port. It's got a place to store the accessory, hose and all that. And it's got the bag storage and all that. And it's stainless steel, but it's still got some plastic to it. So it's not as heavy as like the A100 was. So it's got a little bit of, everything in there. It's got the analog, vacuum
gauge,
dial gauge, right? So it's just another.
So essentially, the A420 is built on the same platform as the A100. They both have that double piston pump. Again, kind of what I was saying is we brought out the A420 to still be comparable to the A100, but to have some more of those bells and whistles that the customers were wanting. So it's been very successful. So.
All right, so let's skip the A100 because we know what that one does. And it's still a workhorse. Like I said, that's probably the one that if I was processing a lot of food every day, I'd be using that one. So let's go to the Jumbo 30 because I'm not really that familiar with this one, because you just started carrying this a few months ago.
Yep. We just launched that one. Man, time gets away and I can't even remember, but it's our newer Magic Vac machine. It's essentially cream of the crop of their vacuum sealers. This one is really designed for very heavy use. It's got a very powerful pump in it. And again, they actually made this one. This one is a Jumbo 30 Evo Plus. So it's got some additional horsepower, or not horsepower, but additional
pump strength. Let's just say pump strength.
Yeah. So it's got heavier duty pump strength than the European version. So they made that one specifically. They designed that one specifically for the U.S. market and for continuous back-to-back sealing. So if you again are like a deer processing and that kind of thing, that is the perfect machine for that.
All right, so that's the channel sealers. Let's go into chamber sealers real quick. Oop. There we go. We're going to touch on, so you got 3 models, and most of these, like I said, they kind of step up, and you got the new one that just came out and you already pre-sold out. So they're popular. Yeah. So what gets me about these, when you first started carrying the USV 32, it was like the perfect size for the home. It wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't huge. It didn't take up all your counter space. It didn't cost a arm and a leg, and when you get into the $1,500 to $2,000 price tag, you really got to be using it. You got to justify it. It's not something you're using just to, for sous vide cooking every once in a while, or to, process, your Costco run. So when you started getting these smaller units that were more able to fit on a countertop, I think it was right at the right time. So let's just start from left to right. So we'll go to the smallest one, which is the USV 20 right now. So that's your least expensive. It's the smaller one. Yep. Doesn't have quite the capacity as the other ones, but it does everything that they do, correct?
Yes. So essentially, to start kind of across the board, they all have the same pump. So they're all, none of them are inferior to any of the other ones, if that makes sense. So the main difference is going to be the chamber size. And then the difference between, so the USV 20, it's the smallest one. We really wanted to, hit another price point in the market to make it more attractive to those people that, again, you start high and kind of try to get down as low as possible. But so that one's got the smallest chamber, but one of the huge, most popular features is the accessory port. And so a lot of people, when we just had the 2 sealers, they would have a really hard time deciding between the 32 or the 20 because they want the bigger out of capacity, the 2. They want the bigger chamber, but yet they want the accessory port so that they can vacuum seal external canisters and all that doesn't fit inside of the chamber. So that's kind of where this new X comes in, is to marry the 2 together, if that makes sense. So it is able to do larger bags than the USV 20, a little bit smaller than the 32, because this one only has a 10-inch seal bar. But since it's deeper from front to back than the 20, so you are able to get up to about 10 by 13 bags in there, which is very decent. That's even what a lot of the commercial size machines, that's about the biggest bag that a lot of those can handle. And it also does have the accessory port. So the one thing that makes this one different, obviously, is the fancy new black stainless finish. We're excited about that. And then we switched up the control panel a little bit to make it more user-friendly, if you will. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people, the 20 and the 32 have the gauge on them. And you have adjustable vacuum time settings from 20 seconds to 99 seconds or 15 seconds to 60 seconds. And that's a lot of settings, and so there's a lot of confusion. Well, with what I'm vacuum sealing in this size bag, what do I put my, vacuum time at? Even though it's, to me, it's not that big of a deal, but we wanted to make something a little bit more user-friendly. That's like, okay, you got 3 options, low, medium, high, essentially, same as on the seal time, to make it less confusing. And I think this one's going to be, very popular as well.
Yeah, I think that is a really good point. If somebody's fairly new to using a chamber sealer, they don't want to have to learn, okay, well, this size bag, I need to do, 40 seconds instead of 20 seconds and all that, and which You have to, because if you're doing liquids, you don't want it to go 60 seconds because it'll boil over out of the bag, and that's one of the things that's funny when the people first start using the chamber sealer and they see the water boiling when it starts getting the vacuum gets really, really down there. But you don't want them to have it just set at 60 seconds all the time, and no matter what they're putting in there. So giving them that, use 1, 2, or 3, this one's a 2, that one's a 1. It's a lot easier.
Right. And there will be some people that look at that as, a negative, if you will, because it's less options, but everybody's different in what they want. And so
as long as it does what you need it to do, I don't think
absolutely.
Of course I like to have that control so I can, but how many times do I go, okay, I want this to be at 32 seconds or 42 seconds, no, it's like, you go between, like you said, you got 3 options, low, medium, high. That should be good for most people. But I like the fact that, like you said, the accessory ports in there, because there's people that use canisters and all that kind of stuff all the time. That's one of the biggest questions that people ask in some of my groups and forums and stuff, is being able to use it and use mason jars and all that kind of stuff. So it's people use that a lot. So going from the USV 20, which it really takes a kind of a specific sized bag, right?
Yeah. So that the orientation of that chamber is a little bit different than most sealers on the market, or chamber sealers on the market. So it's wider than it is long. So it's more, if you think of a sheet of paper, it's more widthways, what do they call it? Landscape versus portrait. So it's more landscape style. So we designed a bag specifically to fit that size chamber. So it's 11 inches wide by 10 inches long. And the opening is on the 11-inch side that goes over the seal bar. And so it makes it very handy to fit the orientation of that chamber and maximize the space that you can fit inside of it.
Yeah. And it's still a good size. And if you're using it for food storage, you still got a good size. If you're using it for sous vide cooking, I mean, you can fit, 3 or 4 pieces of chicken in there. No problem.
Right. Yeah. I always say like a couple portions at a time. Definitely.
Yeah. You're not going to put a whole chicken in there, but most of them you're not going to want to do that anyway. So stepping up to the new USVX, like you said, you got some different control functions. You got the a little bit bigger size in the chamber. Now, one of the things that's hard to tell from these pictures is the lid on all of these is glass, correct?
Correct. I don't know if you can see this, but they're all very heavy duty tempered glass. So very strong. I can't say that we've had any break under vacuum. We have had customers that have dropped them and they've broken. But no, they're very heavy duty, and they have to be to basically hold up to the amount of pressure that's being put into that chamber.
Most of the chamber sealers that I've seen over the years that have had plastic lids always have problems. I mean, VacMaster had a couple they put out there that were more towards, geared towards the home user, and they had issues. I think they discontinued all of them pretty much because they all had plastic lids and they all broke. So,
over time. Yeah.
Or even just, some of them were like within 6 months, because just the amount of vacuum pressure that was on them, constantly, and plastic, wasn't made to have that. Now they got the really thick stuff, but that adds to the weight. So, so they also are kind of flat. So most people if they think the older type chamber sealers, they got that round dome so that they can put some taller stuff in there. These are all pretty much flat. So you have the deeper chamber to kind of make up for that, correct?
Yeah. So this one has about a 3.5 at the lowest point to the chamber. It's got about 3.5 inches. So you can vacuum seal mason jars up to about 3.5 inches, either standing up or on its side in the chamber.
And bigger roasts and stuff, as long as it fits in the chamber, so and that's like I said, that goes back to the point we made earlier about if you're doing a whole deer leg, you're not going to stick it in a chamber sealer anyway.
Right.
You're going to use a channel sealer. So the USV 32, this is your biggest one and your first one that you released. Most popular, I'm sure. So
absolutely. Yep. It still remains the leader of the pack. Just because the chamber size is because you can fit a lot more in it, but that is the one that does not have the accessory port. So everything has to be done within inside that chamber.
Right. So, but the controls are pretty much very same as the USV 20. So you can adjust the seal time, and you can adjust the vacuum time and all that. And they all have the marinade function, correct? They all have the marinating function.
The marinating function is a little bit different lengths and times on each of them, but they do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. And that's, like I said, that's pretty much your stable lineup. And then
we do have a video on YouTube, and then also a link on our blog that shows the comparison and the side by side of all three of our chamber vacuum sealers. We walk through on the video all the differences, and we show like what bag sizes you can use in each. So, because sometimes when we're talking to people and it's hard to visualize, so we try to do that in that video to help people understand.
Yeah, make sure, guys, if you want any information on the Avid Armor products, go to their YouTube channel. They've got tons of videos and how-tos and whatnot. So she said the differences between the products. These are all your accessories. You've got all different kinds of containers now, because when you did bring on Magic Vac, you also brought on some of their accessories as well. Plus you have your own as well. So, and these will work with anyone that has the accessory port. So
exactly.
One of the things that people don't realize, a lot of the chamber sealers, you can put these filler plates in. What that allows the chamber sealer to do is not have to pull as much air out of the chamber. If you got something smaller, you can put one of these or a couple of these filler plates in there, so it doesn't have to pull as long of a vacuum, correct?
Right, correct. Yeah, it can do multiple things. So you don't have to use as long of a vacuum time, or you even just using those and using the same amount of vacuum time. So the difference between using a filler and not using a filler, you get a tighter vacuum also.
Right. So let's talk about why a chamber vacuum is different than a channel vacuum. What's the main point? We weren't going to dwell on this, but I just want people, if they're listening, to understand the difference between, because this comes up all the time. Why should I get a chamber vacuum over a channel, and vice versa?
Yeah. So we'll start with the channel vacuum sealer. There's a lot of terms that people use for channel vacuum sealers. Are also called external vacuum sealers, suction vacuum sealers, edge vacuum sealers. I've heard all of the terms. They're used everywhere. But essentially, it's you put your food in the bag, and the vacuum sealer sucks the air out of the bag and anything else along that can come out with suction power. And then it will seal the bag, and you have a vacuum sealed food. So the difference with chamber technology is that it doesn't suck the air directly out of the bag. So what it does is you put your bag directly inside of the chamber, and then when the pump runs, it's removing air from the entire chamber. So it's removing air from the chamber and the bag. So the whole entire chamber is under, removing the vacuum pressure from there. And it will then seal the bag and then put the atmospheric pressure back into the chamber. And when you add that atmospheric pressure, that pressure is what causes your bag to collapse and vacuum seal. And so with this technology, since it's not taking the air directly out of the bag, you can vacuum seal liquids, high moisture proteins, or whatever it is, anything, even flour. Another popular one is like flours and powders, because whenever you're using a suction vacuum sealer, those really fine particles can be sucked out. So there's things that you have to do to prevent that. But with a chamber vacuum sealer, you don't have that problem, and it seals everything, nice and tight.
So with the channel vacuums, you also got to have the special bags that have
Yes,
texture on one side.
Yes, I didn't touch on that. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. So with a channel vacuum sealer, you have to have an embossed vacuum sealer bag to suck the air out. So the vacuum sealer uses those, you like to call it like highways, to extract the air from the bag. If it doesn't have that, you won't get any suction out of the bag. So since chamber sealers don't use the same technology, you can use a smooth bag on both sides. We call them chamber pouches, and they're much more cost effective than the suction vacuum sealer bags.
Right. And like you said too, if you had a channel sealer and you want to, vacuum seal something that's very moist or wet, or, even if you had soups or sauces, it's very hard. You can do it, but you gotta be very careful, because it'll get into the pump. And once you get moisture into that pump, there's no getting it out, and it can destroy your pump. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. When they have these cheaper ones, they let moisture get in the pump, then it sits there on the shelf and it rusts and it won't work anymore. And the same thing with even the chamber sealers. You got to be careful that when you are putting liquid in them, that you don't have them boil over too much, because that moisture can actually get into the pump and have that same issue. So that's where you got to make sure you're making sure you don't want that, that small bag of liquid at the highest vacuum setting, because it's going to overboil and get into the pump.
Yeah. And not overfilling the bag as well. Because that boiling, if you will, is kind of the air, the vapors or whatever that's in that trying to escape. And so you'll notice that when it gets to that point, it will tend to creep towards the opening of the bag. And so you do have to make sure that you don't do that for too long. Otherwise, you'll have a mess.
On the more expensive chamber sealers, the more commercial ones, they have oil pumps where you can change the oil to get the moisture out. Where these are actually oilless pumps. So you don't want to get as much moisture in as possible. So you just got to be careful. I mean, and like I said, it's something that everybody, that's why I like your videos and stuff on your website. The more you know about them and the more you use them, the longer they're going to last, the more you're going to get out of them, and the better experience you're going to have overall. So you got a bunch of accessories. We went over, kind of showed all those different things. What do you guys got on the books coming up next? Are you looking to get more into more sizes of chamber sealers? You're going to get any more into the commercial side stuff, or what do you got on the books?
We're working on some different stuff. I can't speak too soon on exactly what we have coming, but we do definitely have plans coming up to launch more new products this year. So we're excited about that. We're, being a small company, you have to kind of strategically plan your next steps. So we're excited for 2022 and the possibilities, as long as we can keep our, inventory in stock.
Well, do you guys see, I know you're more, I don't have to worry about inventory and stuff, obviously, but do you see that getting better, worse, staying the same? I mean, is it just hit or miss?
Well, I think for us, it's kind of been the unpredictability of it, so it's hard to plan whenever, there's, well, first of all, like the demand has gone up for the vacuum sealers for sure. And so to plan that, but then everything is taking twice as long as it used to, and even that, like we used to be able to, kind of have within a few day timeline, we knew exactly when something was going to be here. And now, we have stuff that was supposed to be here in March and it's still not here. So it's just unpredictability.
I think it's not just the manufacturers anymore. It's the shipping, because I found, when I ordered this freeze dryer, they shipped it from Harvest Right from their warehouse within 3 or 4 days of me ordering it. But FedEx had it sitting in a train yard, 4 hours away in Jacksonville for 3 weeks. because
my
they
goodness.
didn't have the trucks to unload the trains, cars and get
Wow.
stuff going. So it literally sat in, FedEx's train in Jacksonville, 4 hours from me for 3 weeks. And I would call and they're like, we just don't have the transport. So it's the transportation more than anything.
No, for sure. The logistics side of things is, it's been hard.
So, and it's one thing or the other, and I hear now all the time, truck driver ads, come work for us, drive a truck, because they just have a big demand for it. So hopefully that stuff starts, with COVID starting to die down. I think things are going to start getting back into normal, hopefully, but I think the demand's going to keep going because with inflation the way it is, and I see it all the time now, people are just going nuts, I got to start prepping, I got to start saving more food. I want to start,
it's
buying
like there's a whole nother generate, because there's always been preppers, if you will, but it's like it's become even more. So
oh yeah, you got young people going, I can't keep paying this much for food, so if it's gone up this much in this short of time, how much more is it going to go up? So I got to load up and load my freezer up. I have to buy a whole cow. So I got people all the time.
Absolutely.
So definitely I see nothing but good things out of you guys. And I think the growth's going to continue. The more people use you, the more they love you, the more they talk about you, the brand's out there now. And I'm really glad that, I found you guys, 4.5 years ago. And
we are too.
I'm one of your biggest fans and promoters. So I want to thank you for coming on. And anything else you want to talk about before we let everybody else go?
I don't think so. I think that's it. But I guess just stay tuned for, all the things new that we have coming down the pipeline. We're excited to keep growing and keep, being that authority in vacuum packaging. So that's what we're here for.
Well, like I said, I appreciate you guys. And like I said, guys, check out Avid Armor's website, avidarmor.com. Check out their YouTube channel if you want to know anything about any of their products. Nina's been doing a really great job getting in front of the camera and doing demos. She's really, does a really good job at that. And I think that's one of the things that sets them apart. So, and their customer service is excellent. It's based here in the, US. So you're not going to be talking to somebody in, India or China or anything like that.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, Nina, I want to thank you. And I'll see you again on the next one.
All right.
Thanks
you
for joining
so much
us,
for having
guys.
us again. Yep.
Thank you for joining us. And I'll see you on the next Fire and Water Cooking videos.
Bye.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. And make sure you check out Avid Armor on their website at avidarmor.com. Also, check them out on YouTube. Just type in Avid Armor and search, and you'll find them and subscribe. We got plenty of how-to videos, goes over their products as well. Thanks for watching, and follow me on Facebook page and groups. Follow me on the Fire and Water Cooking website, Instagram, and I'll see you again on the next Fire and Water Cooking podcast.